Hello. Excuse my appearance because I did not feel like doing my hair. But I was watching the movie Troy and uh I get messages when I watch movies. I want to tell you, I took the appreciation of film or something like that when I was in undergrad. Ever since then, I've never been able to watch a movie the same way. Or all movies pretty much have the same base. And so now I guess it actually helped me. I can watch the movie for what it really is and the messages that I'm supposed to be getting. So, first lesson for movie Troy. If you know anything about Greek mythology, you'll know that Troy was at war with the Greeks and Troy was impenetrable because they had this wall that nobody could get and they foolishly thought that they had won a war between them and the Greeks and accepted a present from the Greeks, which was this huge wooden horse. Um, Ironically, it was a hollowed out wooden horse um, that actually had soldiers in it to destroy. This particular one is from 2004. It's with Brad Pitt. And the first lesson that I got is don't fight senseless wars. So the reason why the war started because Troy and Greece were at peace. They were celebrating being at peace, and one of the princes of Troy decided that he wanted to take the queen, um, or not the queen, the king's brother's wife, Helen. He was supposed to be like so beautiful. I don't know. I don't know what she looked like. I don't even think I've ever really seen pictures of her. So, um, he was so enthralled with her that he decided to take her back home with her. Needless to say, her husband was like, "Oh hell no," and went to get her. The thing is that her husband's brother just was, or her brother-in-law, if you would, wanted to go to war. He didn't want to be at peace with Troy anyway because he was on his high horse tripping. Now, in his back pocket, he had a ace of spades or a joker, if you play spades, if you understand that lingo. And that was Achilles. Achilles is supposedly like a demigod of some sort. You can look up the Greek mythology. That's not my bag. I like it, I understand it, but I'm not like totally into it. So I don't know everything about it. And anyway, he was supposed to be something like a demigod and supposed to be protected by the gods, which is why he was great in battle and he could beat anybody. Um, that is until this fight, which wasn't really his fight, which had nothing to do with him. Now I know the movie added more dramatics because of um Hollywood, but it was a senseless war for him because he had no stake in the game. Like there was nothing in it for him. He was just there because he was an ally with Odysseus. But um, it became less senseless for him when his younger cousin, who was supposed to be like his protege, who he was training, ended up getting killed because his younger cousin decided to steal his armor and take it into war when he had decided that they would just chill out because he had nothing to gain or to lose from fighting this fight. It wasn't even his fight. He didn't want to fight it. Um, Ironically, his mom had told him if he went on to fight this fight, that he would come home, or he wouldn't come home at all. He would die, but that his name would live on throughout the generations, which it has. Achilles heel is something that's commonly known in the medical industry. There's a tendon in the back of your leg, and it's known as the Achilles, which is what ultimately caused his demise. He got shot through that tendon with a bow and arrow, and that took him down. Greek mythology, if I'm not mistaken, it tells you that it like his power left him once his flesh was pierced. Um, in the movie, he just got taken down. Now he happened to have fallen in love with a priestess of Apollo from Troy. Um, but that's inconsequential to what we got going on right now. It's a senseless war for him because he never wanted to fight the war to begin with. And then he ended up getting a prisoner of war, which was a priestess of Apollo, which was the cousin to the Prince of Troy, who he ended up killing because the Prince of Troy killed his little cousin. Um, the whole reason this war started, like I said, is because the Littler Prince, if you know anything about like monarchies, there's a certain order that they have. And so if you're the firstborn male, you're the heir to the throne. So this was the second born male, and that's the one who decided to steal Helen. Um, so um he decided in this movie, I don't think this happened in the actual lore, but he decided in this movie to fight Helen's current husband for her honor. He ended up losing the fight, but he retreated, and his brother ended up saving the day and killing Helen's actual husband. Like I told you earlier, her brother-in-law just wanted to go to war with these people because he wanted to own. Which, I mean, that was the thing back in the day. When you had a dynasty, you wanted to own as much land and as many people as possible. That's kind of what you did. If you're not familiar with the phrase the sun never sets on the British Empire, that was kind of the mindset that most kingdoms had, that they wanted to own the most amount of land and slaves and all that stuff just so that they could be popping. It doesn't make sense in today's time, kind of, sort of, not really. Um, but back then it made perfect sense. So, lesson number 2. If you have forbidden love, you should be willing to die for it. Hector was his name, who stole Helen from Troy. He was not honestly willing to die for it. He was a pretty boy. He wasn't the warrior. He was the second son, so he didn't really have to learn war tactics because his brother was next in line to be king. But honestly, he quote unquote loved her. But he didn't want to die for her, or which that would have been the honorable thing to do back then, to go to battle, for her and then fight and die. But the way they set up this movie, whether he would have won or lost, they still wanted to go to war. So that's inconsequential. Um Another forbidden love story in this movie was the Achilles and, oh God, I cannot remember her name, but she was priestess of Apollo. She was the niece to the king. Um, she was a virgin, so that was her thing. She dedicated her life to Apollo, but yeah, Achilles came in it real quick. Oh, in so many words, you should watch the movie. Totally great, totally great. But yeah, he really wasn't willing to die for his forbidden love. And that's a real punk move. So the way Troy ended up getting defeated is because they decided to take in this wooden horse, which they thought was a gift from their enemies. So that leads us to point number 3. Don't take gifts from your enemies. I don't care how pretty it is. I don't care how shiny it is. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care if it's something that you wanted for your entire life. If somebody that you know really doesn't have, good intentions towards you decides to give you something, don't take it because it's gonna cause your demise. Like for real. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, especially in this day and age and where we're going. A lot of people uh negate the power of magic or witchcraft or sorcery or whatever you want to call it, but it does exist. And there's more out here in this world besides voodoo. If you want to know, you should look it up and study it. Um, but that's what a lot of people, especially African American community, looks at, or they'll say he or she put roots on you or something of that nature. But you seriously have to take into the account that there are people out here who won't like you. And some people will just not like you, and that'll just be that. And then there are some people out here who won't like you, and they'll be gunning for your life. So you seriously need to take that into consideration. Another thing is if you decide to take something that belongs to someone else and you know specifically relationship wise that person belongs to someone else and you do some magic or you do some manipulation, some whatever you know how to do to lure this person away from the person that you know they're supposed to be with, you're going to get in trouble. It's not going to end well for you. So you need to take into consideration if you are willing to point to die for whatever it is that you love and make sure that you truly love it before you take something that doesn't belong to you because it's not going to end pretty. I promise you. So that, my friends, is what I have learned from watching the movie Troy. It's a very good movie. Um, but this is also a lesson to watch movies, but actually learn, like listen to what they're trying to teach you. Movies are made for entertainment purposes, but they also have messages in them if you are willing to listen. Thank you and good night.